It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10. All right, true believers, welcome into the border war for February the 15th, 2018. Happy Valentine's Day, Tan Man. Did you?
Happy Valentine's Day to you too, buddy.
Did you get a lot of candy and flowers sent your way yesterday?
I did get a lot of candy. You didn't?
Well, it was Ash Wednesday, so we went to church.
Okay.
Had dead, burned things put onto my forehead. And then we went to a little local Spartanburg establishment called the Sugar and Spice, and I had a delicious roast beef sandwich.
I went to Pizza Inn and ate a piece of pizza I didn't know existed. Have you ever heard of the double chocolate chip pizza?
Yes.
I've never heard of it.
The chocolate chips on top of the chocolate, right?
Yes. Instead of the cake batter, it's got chocolate. It tastes like a big brownie.
The one I'm really high on, I think, is like a chocolate banana kind of pudding.
The little
concoction.
pudding pizza.
Yeah, it's pretty dadgum good.
My favorite's a cheeseburger pizza.
It tastes more like a hot dog pizza to me because it's got all that mustard
on it. Yeah.
Now, what we're going to do at this point is have this small non-sports conversation end quickly.
And move on.
And we're going to move on. It is something that a lot of people do not know how to do.
And that just grinds my gears when
does.
I do that.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, sorry.
Don't say that. Don't make me bring out the legal department.
Sorry, we weren't allowed to say that.
We'd like to thank you, whoever you are, for listening. We just put our ugly mugs on Facebook in a live broadcast. We went back and watched a few minutes of it. Both of us were excited to see what we looked like in real life.
We were severely disappointed.
Yeah, I don't look nearly as good as I had imagined I looked.
Yeah, all you had to do was ask, and I could have told you that.
Well, I appreciate it. Back at you, big guy, and I do mean big guy. You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. You can follow me at BG_Border War and Tan Man at TanMan3264. Email us comments, questions, insults, job offers, anything on CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. Now, here is one asterisk I'm going to have to throw you. If you're a radio executive and you throw us a job offer and we email you back, we'd like a response.
Yeah, don't rescind your offer.
Well, I don't even know if that
non-response. Well, clearly it did because we're still in the Cheerwine Studios.
And we would just like to say, if you're listening to this show and you think, hey, these guys are at least better than I thought they would be, we did receive a job offer from a local radio show. As it turns out, though, they're all a bunch of worthless chumps, and they didn't respond to our response to them.
I thought we were going to keep that to ourselves. I didn't think that we were going to go public with that offer.
I'm not naming anybody.
Not
but
naming names.
They're chumps.
They name. You remember that Seinfeld?
No. You're never going to bring a Seinfeld up that I remember. I mean, I've seen them. I just don't remember them.
Where Lane got the guy blacklisted from Hop Sings. They name.
Like and download us through the Spreaker app. It's a great app, easy to listen to. Like and share the Border War on Facebook. Tan Man, catch us up in the past week. What happened in the week in sport?
The week in sport, for the first time since the days of Ralph Sampson roaming the paint in Charlottesville.
82, 83?
82. The Virginia Cavaliers are the new number one team in the country despite their loss at home to Virginia Tech. They're followed by Michigan State, Villanova, Xavier, and Cincinnati. The Clemson Tigers, they check in at number 11. The Tar Heels check in at 14 this week. Speaking of the Tigers, they rout Pittsburgh at home 72-48 before blowing an 18-point lead and losing last night in overtime by 2 in Tallahassee versus the Florida State Seminoles. But more importantly than losing the ball game, they may have lost Sheldon Mitchell for some period of time. Last night he took a shot in the head and was momentarily knocked out before he spent the night at a Tallahassee hospital. They'll get the number 12 ranked Blue Devils at home Saturday in a matchup that will have serious ACC standing implications.
This feels like a big one for Duke.
It is. It's a big one for both of them. The other big game in the ACC this weekend that's also going to go a long way to determining who gets in that top four and gets that double bye is up in Louisville. The Tar Heels, they'll get Louisville this Saturday. They're coming off of a 3-game in 5-day stretch, which, by the way, I just want to point out that for all of the naysayers around here that say, oh, North Carolina gets all the breaks, the commissioner's a North Carolina grad, I want to make the point, no other team in the ACC has gone through and had to play 3 conference games in 5 days. I just want to put that. We're the only ones. They beat Duke, they go on the road to NC State, and they get Notre and they knock off Notre Dame on Monday night to close out that one. So a good week. What a difference a week makes for the Tar Heels. BG.
A week did not make a difference
down in Columbia. They lose their fifth and their 6th game in a row with home losses.
Probably could have just said their 6th loss and started there. I mean,
well, I could have, but I wanted to make sure
dig it a little bit harder.
They lost 5, and then they lost 6 in a row with losses at home against the Gators and on the road at Tennessee, 70-67, despite a good effort up in Knoxville.
The tying shot was in the air. It would have counted at the buzzer.
Yeah.
Hit the rim, kind of in and out, rolled around the whole rim, shot out. To be fair, though, that win would have been fun. It wouldn't have helped. This season's over. It's over.
They currently sit tied for last in the SEC at 4-9 with Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. Excuse me, buddy. They are at home Saturday afternoon against the 10th ranked and maybe one of the biggest surprises in the country, the Auburn Tigers. They'll get them twice to close out the season. They get Auburn Saturday. They get them again in the last game of the season.
Is it that surprising?
Yeah.
I mean, what's going to be surprising is if they're not under investigation and Bruce Pearl's not off somewhere else in 2 seasons.
Yeah, they are under investigation, and Bruce Pearl usually is run out of town at some point shortly thereafter. In NBA news, the Hornets, they end a 4-game skid, head to the NBA All-Star break with a win over the Orlando Magic, 104-102. They enter the break at 24-33, not a lot happening. And we'll get to some more Hornets news in hour number 2. But finally, a name that you probably are very familiar with, BG, Ted Potter Jr. I know that's probably your favorite golfer.
I have actually a life-size cardboard cutout of him
Ted Potter Jr.
in the woods outside my house.
There you go. Well, Ted Potter Jr., he wins the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am at 17 under. 3 shots better than, listen to this quartet that finished at T2, BG. Ches Reavie, who's coming off his second, makes 2 straight runner-up finishes for him. Phil Mickelson, Jason Day, and Dustin Johnson. Ted Potter outlasts them all on Sunday afternoon. So congratulations,
There's
Ted.
a lot of parity in golf right now. I can't decide if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It doesn't make me more interested. I guess if you're a big golf fan, it's kind of fun tuning in and not knowing who's going to win. But my interest in golf goes about as far as how good Tiger Woods is playing.
Well, I watched a good bit of it Sunday, and he had some opportunities that he could have folded, and every time it came up a chance for him to hook one or miss a... Man, Ted Potter was cool as a cucumber on Sunday afternoon.
I thought of an interesting summertime topic for us. We're always talking about what the heck are we going to talk about in July, you know. But the parallels between the fortunes of their particular sport between Tiger Woods and Dale Earnhardt. I think there's a case to be made for the need for a sport to have somebody good or bad that's a lightning rod for attention. Because
I think most sports have that person. Wouldn't you say? I mean,
I think certain sports don't need them as badly.
Well,
as
I was say it might be a whole team. Like in the NFL, it's the New England Patriots. In Major League Baseball, it's the Yankees. You know, in college basketball, it's Duke, it's Carolina, it's Kentucky. I think most places do have those.
True enough. We'll talk about it this summer because we have other things to talk about today.
A few other things.
Yeah, so we'll start with college basketball. Obviously, the first of 2 last week. North Carolina comes back from being down 12 in the first half, beats Duke by 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let you start. Well, no, I'll tell you what. Let me start because once you start, we'll be running up against the clock the next thing you know it. And
maybe.
And so I
got a lot of problems with you people.
I'm looking at a diagram here of the shot clock. And basically what I see, and I like, I watched the game. I watched the second half of the game. But, have you ever been stuck watching a game that you couldn't get on television and you had to watch some game tracker or whatnot? You've never been in that situation?
Never.
That's happened to me a lot.
Never.
Okay.
A lot of things happen to you that never happened to me.
Okay.
A lot of strange situations.
Well, that's true. Now, you really want to talk strange situations, talk to Clemson Kev, because Clemson Kev has had things happen to him that happened to no one else. Just no one.
How about we won't happen? I think he makes some of that stuff up, though, man.
Well, I mean, he's a Clemson fan. It's difficult to say.
Most Clemson fans do.
What I see here is that, and like you said, I mean, Duke's strength is not shooting the three.
No,
and
it's not.
That is really the way to beat North Carolina. But if you look at the stats of this game, you're sort of like, how did Duke lose this game? They shot better. They shot a better percentage.
Okay.
But what it comes down to, and then you said this, I'll give you credit last week, you said it. Rebounds and defense. Because North Carolina didn't have to defend the three. Not like normal.
No.
And they out-rebounded them. They really out-rebounded. And in the second half, they dominantly out-rebounded them. So to me, that's the story of this game. I mean, that and Joel Berry scoring 21 points. North Carolina's defense, because both teams were big in the paint. Duke got their points in the paint. North Carolina got their points in the paint. Neither team had a real advantage from the three-point arc. If you look at the shot clock, other than the color of the blue, the two sides basically look identical.
Yeah.
But the difference is rebounds and second-chance shots.
Well, for the record, I called the score of the game before the game on Twitter. I was off by 7 total points. I think I said something like...
You came really close.
I came really close. This game was decided really on the inside. And what I mean is I've told people before, the typical North Carolina team that Roy Williams likes to have has got the two big guys down low. Last year it was Isaiah Hicks and Kennedy Meeks. And the typical Duke team has got a guy down low, and then they spread you out on the perimeter and work the ball around and screen you to death and then wind up with an open three-point shot. This year, and really, to be fair, I thought that doing it that way, their way, it always felt like they had a little bit of advantage over us because we could never close out fast enough on their shooters. And they're going to make wide-open shots. Well, this year, they've kind of flip-flopped. And we're a little more perimeter-oriented team. They're depending a lot more on what they get inside, and in the first half, it felt like we tried to go mano-a-mano with them.
Bagley really drives their offense.
Yes,
right now.
We tried to go mano-a-mano with them, and they really just abused us. If you want to just get blunt about it,
right?
They abused us down low. In the second half, their guards couldn't stay with our guards. Late in the first half, when they got up 12, the end of the first half. The light came on, and Joe Barry decided I can get to the basket at any point that I want, anytime I want to. And the other thing that really hurt them is early in the first half, Grayson Allen made a couple shots. He looked engaged, he looked aggressive. As I think Jay Billis put it, he was hunting his shot. When the second half,
he disappeared.
That's
the best way to put it.
And so that really hurt him. And so when once we decided that we were going to take them off the dribble every time, we were going to crash the boards every time. We weren't able to just out muscle them for rebounds, but we tipped some balls out, got some rebounds that way.
Before the season started, I picked Grayson Allen for my National Player of the Year, and the main reason I picked it is because I thought, I know how these things work, and the American sports press loves a story. And as much bad press as Allen has gotten with the tripping incidents and he just looks like an unlikable kid, let's be honest. He looks like
he probably is an unlikable guy.
He probably is. Well, he went to Duke. But anyway, I thought he would have, the quote-unquote comeback season.
I thought he was going to be a monster the other night, and he wasn't. He was just,
I'll tell you right now, he's
guy.
sort of a mid-second round pick to me. I don't see Allen's costing himself a lot of money, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And he's just, you're right, he doesn't seem dialed in. He doesn't seem emotionally present in the game. the way he. Do you think maybe he's just trying so hard to not lose it?
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. Yeah, we'll skip ahead on something. How do they get their mojo back? Is they get their mojo back to me with Grayson Allen? Because to me, he's the guy.
Well, he's the senior leader. Like he's
supposed to be the senior leader. You
said it to me this week that in the second half of that game, you could see Bagley and those other young kids sort of like looking around. Somebody needs to take charge of this and lead us down this court, and it has to be Grayson Allen. Well, but he didn't do it.
Well, on paper, it should be Grayson Allen. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I think you may have hit the nail on the head. A couple years ago when he was a sophomore, his freshman season, he came off the bench. He played less than 10 minutes a game. National championship game, he goes ballistic. They win the championship. He comes his sophomore year. He's unbelievable, man. Mm-hmm. He's and started having some issues. They came to a head last year.
Right.
He gets moved to the bench and. It's like it took some of that edge out, and I don't know if by taking some of that edge away from him, I don't know if it's cost him. But if they're going to make a deep run in the tournament, it's got to come from him because, to me, this is a team that they have just my opinion. I think they've got a me first point guard, which is not really their style, but I think Duval is a me first point guard.
My son's 4th and 5th grade team has the same problem.
We don't talk about Little League sports.
I'm just
on this
pointing
show.
out, making connections.
Yeah, but and so Allen's got to be the guy to give them that spark and that offense from the perimeter. And when he's not, they really struggle. And against the Tar Heels, now they've turned it around. They've had a couple nice games since then. But in the North Carolina game, you said it. Those guys had never been in that situation, in that environment before. The Dean Dome is rocking. North Carolina's got seniors pushing the ball. They've got juniors pushing the ball, getting baskets. And those freshmen kind of got a little wide-eyed.
Well, I thought about really this on the way over here. I was looking at your sheet, which you finally emailed me like 8 seconds before the show started.
Yeah, but you're a semi-professional. I figured that's all the time you would need.
Emphasis on semi.
Semi.
Don't you have to be paid for something to be professional?
Who are you getting paid?
Oh.
Yeah, no, you're getting paid.
Are you putting it in an offshore account for me?
No. I am paying you in valuable experience.
Oh, okay.
Because
so not everything's about money.
Not everything in life is about money.
I'm learning a valuable lesson here today.
Exactly. That's the point. So that when down the road, when the opportunity presents itself for us to take another step in our radio broadcasting careers, that we will be we'll be prepared to take that step.
Thinking about just buying my own station.
I say go for it.
You don't have a sound of fake money.
No, I need to get a cha-ching sound.
What I was thinking on the way over here, though, was that the answer to that question for me is stop relying on all these freshmen. Quit it, man. You need to get back to what Duke used to do.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're certainly not going to be able to stop it next year.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to get into Kentucky, and yes, Kentucky has had some good teams, but Kentucky hasn't won national titles with this approach.
They've won. They've had a lot more disappointing ends to seasons than they have certainly national titles with just the one. As far as Kentucky goes, I don't really know what the answer there is now. I mean, this is the first time in the John Calipari era that they've lost 4 games in a row. I think this is the first time that Kentucky has lost 4 games in a row since Billy Gillespie was there. Of course, that was before Cal.
Wow.
They were with the loss last night to Auburn. They're currently at, I believe, 6 and 7. They're tied for 10th, I believe.
Are
in
we
the SEC.
Seriously talking in the middle of February about an NIT bid for the Kentucky Wildcats?
I think it's on the table.
I don't think it happens because it's them.
Yes, but I'm not expecting them to be in the NIT. If you look back to 2013, where they came off the national title year, the next year Nerlens Noel gets hurt about this same point in the season, and they kind of go in a little nosedive and wind up in the NIT. But I don't know, man. I just you look at Joe Lunardi's last 4 teams that he has in. I mean, you're talking NC State, St. Bonaventure. I mean, Kentucky's going to get in over all these teams. Right?
Yeah.
So I think the question with Kentucky is, are they a team that, the top teams in the tournament should be wary of? Right now, Lunardi's got them as in that 8-9 game, and I forget what region it is. So let's say they're an 8 seed or a 9 seed. Are they someone that a Villanova or a Purdue or Kansas or one of these top teams should be nervous of seeing across there?
Let me see how I can put this. Yes.
You think so?
Yes, because it's a one-shot game.
Okay.
Kentucky gets up for that game. They've got talent, and look. They should be wary of them in the way that Muhammad Ali would have been wary of a guy with a really nasty left hook. That's all he's got. But if he hits you with that left hook, you're going down. So they have a puncher's chance. I mean, this team has talent. They haven't played well. But you know this, man. In the tournament, a team with that kind of talent, they only have to put it together that one night.
You're right.
You let them hang around in a game, they're gonna. I don't care if they're a 13 seed, they're gonna have 20,000 fans wherever they play. Yes, you should be very wary of Kentucky, not to win anything.
Yeah,
but in the first round, if they win in the second, yes.
What was that? I guess it was 2014. I think 15 was the year that they went undefeated and lost. So it was the year before when they lost to UConn in the championship game. They were an 8 seed that year. Kind of like what they are now.
Right.
They're up and down. That team, like I said, went all the way to the national championship game, almost won a national title. The difference in that team and this team, to me, is that team could shoot. Aaron Harrison, one of the twins, I think it was Aaron. I mean, you give that guy the ball at the end of the game. He made shots at the end of the game against Wichita State. Sent him home, who was undefeated, by the way.
Right.
Made shots against Louisville, made shots against Michigan, and I think it was in the Elite Eight to send them to the Final Four. That team could make big shots. Other than Kevin Knox, there's nobody else on this team that scares me shooting the ball. And I know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I know he's a terrific player, but at the end of the ball game, you watch him play. Nothing about him really, to me, really screams, I'm going to put you on my back and carry you like some of the guys on that team did, because that team is what laid the foundation. Now, adding Karl Anthony Towns helped.
Sure.
But adding that team is what laid the foundation for that undefeated run up to the Final Four the next year.
And I mean, I get what you're saying, but it just, I don't know. Tournament basketball, to me, every now and then it just ends up, I mean, like, look, let's just be honest. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that would rather see somebody else than Kentucky across the court in the opening rounds. And the most dangerous thing about them is, man, they have nothing to lose in these games.
No. Yeah,
and that would concern me. That would concern me.
You're right. Well, go back up and hit the Tar Heels before we move on. One of my favorite radio guys that I actually like to listen to.
Very excited about that.
Very excited about being able to pick back up the Jerry V show out of Charlotte.
Well, being able to listen to sports radio again, because around here it makes you want to throw up.
Not about how many Bayside High School jerseys are hanging up in their studios.
That didn't actually happen.
What?
Is that a real thing?
No, the AC, like the Saved by the Bell High School.
No, I know what Bayside is, but is that a thing they talked about?
Yes.
Oh,
they spent like 20 minutes talking about how they got that, and they got the jersey from Icebox or whatever the name was from Little Giants.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, but Jerry V he had an interesting discussion on his show the other day. When you watch the North Carolina, do you think that there's something missing? And I'm missing in air quotes. I'll ask you. Do you think that there's something missing when you watch this team play?
Well, yeah, I do. And
is it something that,
if we're
that was going to hold them back
to get a national title?
Uh-huh.
Yes, and I think it comes back to what I've said before. They don't have that dominant front court the way that they typically would.
Right.
I feel like you're right. Now, against Duke, Joel Berry did get into that moment where And he just went off offensively. And because he could, he could also dish the ball very effectively. He's always been a very unselfish player. Very good point guard. But in a game where he can't get to the basket at will, I think their offense is shaky. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him.
There is.
And, I mean, that's not always a bad thing. But, again, last year's team at this point in the season, like, I know you weren't big on Kennedy Meeks. I didn't see much of the early part of his career, but by this point in the season, he had turned into Frankenstein's monster. There wasn't a lot of weakness on that team. There wasn't a lot you could do with that team.
No,
you just sort of had to outscore them.
No, but you go back and watch some of those games early, kind of when you start hitting that middle lull of the ACC season. I mean, we got our butts kicked several times last year.
True. No, you're right. You're right.
It wasn't like they ran through the whole year
no.
and dominated people. I don't think that there's necessarily something missing on this team. I think, and again, this is what a difference a week makes, because coming home from Clemson, I thought, man, I just don't know what the answer is. The answer is on the defensive end, in my opinion.
And you've been saying that.
As long as we defend, in the second half against Duke,
what was that, an effort problem earlier in the season? Did he just not have their attention? I mean, how do you explain that? Anybody can play defense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to say it's an effort problem, because that's really what defense is effort. As long as we defend, and the defense we played in the second half against Duke is good enough with our offense, with Kenny, when Kenny Williams is making shots, Luke May makes shots, and Joe Barry, Theo Pinson doing his thing where he is the I call him the jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy.
Right.
But when we defend, we are as good and we can beat anybody in the country. And so I don't think there's anything missing, to get back to the question. I think that we have been trained to think of North Carolina basketball in a certain way, in a certain box. And this team is just different.
Well, there's no doubt that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm reacting to the box.
I mean, this team is just a little different from what you're used to seeing. But missing? No, I don't think there's anything missing that would prohibit us from making another deep run. Just my opinion. I don't know.
I guess my thing is that it felt like last year's team could win when they didn't defend as well. And this year's team, it feels like that's what has to happen. And when there's only one way for you to win, then I would argue something's missing.
I can
maybe
remember,
it's semantics. Maybe we're just arguing the same side of a coin. I don't know.
Maybe. I can remember in the 2009 season, and even some points during 2005 season, where it was sometimes you felt like we won despite not playing great defense. But I do think with this team, in order for us to win, it's going to have to get started on the defensive effort. Watch the second half of the Clemson loss, second half of the Duke game. That provides you all you need to know as far as that goes.
I would like to say that I do think that, yes, something is missing in South Carolina basketball.
There's a lot missing in South Carolina basketball.
It seems to be points. It's the main thing I noticed that are missing.
Wins.
Yeah. All right,
we don't have enough time to talk about what's missing in Columbia right now. That's a whole other segment.
So the tournament this week releases its top 16 seeds. Tan Man, let me run through those real quick. In the South, which is going to be in Atlanta, the 1 seed's Virginia. I would assume that means they're the 1 seed overall right now.
I think Virginia is the 1 seed overall, yeah.
The top-ranked 2 seed, as it were, Cincinnati. Michigan State in at 3rd. Obviously, they've slipped a little here lately. And then 4th, Tennessee Volunteers. In the East, which will take place in Boston, Massachusetts. Boston. Villanova in at 1, Duke at 2, Texas Tech at 3, Ohio State in at 4. In the Midwest, that's in Omaha, one of my favorite sports cities. Number 1, Xavier. Number 2, Auburn. 3, the Clemson Tigers. 4, Oklahoma. And then the West out in L.A., Purdue in at 1, Kansas in at 2, North Carolina in at 3, and Arizona at 4. How do you feel about sharing the bracket there with the Jayhawks? I know they're one of your
love it.
One of your
Love
favorite teams
it.
to beat.
Love it.
Is there anybody other than Duke you enjoy beating more than Kansas?
Well, we haven't beat Kansas a lot lately.
Right.
We haven't beaten them a
But
lot
that's
lately.
one reason it feels good when you do it.
I like beating Clemson. I think just because I live here, Clemson and Kentucky and Duke are my three favorites when we're able to beat them.
I like handing it to Lander.
Well,
I like a big
win over a
Wednesday night.
South Atlantic Conference Division II opponent.
Okay. Enough poking fun at South Carolina.
Yeah.
So, what are your?
Well, we saw this.
What are your thoughts?
Well, we saw this last year. I'll ask you. The college football playoff committee does the thing where every week they release the top four, and it garners a lot of talk, and everybody loves to talk about who got jobbed and where they have so and so ranked. If I'm not mistaken, last year was the first time they did this.
Yeah.
They might only do it once a year. I don't believe they do it every week like that. Is the idea of doing something like this to someone who isn't as avid a college basketball fan as me? Is the idea of something like this interesting and intriguing to you, or does it not do anything?
I think it takes a little something away from me. Actually, I don't like it. I think I like not knowing what the bracket is until I see the bracket.
I love the selection show.
That's what I'm saying.
I love the selection
and
show.
I mean, you're right. Anybody who's actually following this is not nothing. Nothing of this on here is surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some people that thought Clemson might have been a 2 seed, et cetera, some stuff like that. But I don't like seeing the locations.
Yeah.
I don't like knowing that right now North Carolina would go to Los Angeles. If I'm a North Carolina fan, I want to find that out along with everything else.
It's like finding your Christmas list.
Yeah.
Before on December the 12th, and so 2 weeks. You know everything that you're going to open up on Christmas Day. The difference with this though is they're not going to do it every week like football does. And they got. I think the number's like 1,000, 1,300 games. I mean, there's a lot that's going to change.
Well, sure. It just, but again, though, to answer your question, no, it doesn't. It doesn't do anything for me. I don't care for it.
Well, an interesting note: last year when they did this, 15 of the 16 teams that they released were the top 4 teams in some order. I haven't gone back and looked to see what order they're, but 15 of the 16 teams were in the top 4 when the actual brackets came out. So it is a little peek into the window of the selection committee. But also the other thing it does is there's always a lot of talk every year. As soon as the brackets are released, they get the committee chairman up on the TV and he explains, well, we value this team's win more than this, and this is the metric that we used, and this is why this team is seated here, and this team at 29-3 is a 7 seed. It does give you a little idea, a little peek behind the curtain as to what they're using to judge some of these teams, because when you look,
right,
Michigan State is the number 2 team in the AP poll right now.
Right, and to see them at a 3 seed
is a little curious.
Yeah, no, it is.
And then you look at Oklahoma, who's one of the 4 seeds in this thing, and they're losing. I think it's like 6 out of 8 right now. And then you take someone like Ohio State, top in the in first place in a Big Ten, in a top heavy Big Ten, but they're nowhere. And Gonzaga, they're not in this top 16. Rhode Island's not in this top 16. I mean, so it does give you a little bit of like I say, a little peek behind the curtain there. But is there anybody out of that you other than Michigan State?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The
feel
Michigan
like
State
kind of got jobbed with.
Michigan State surprised me a little bit, but I mean, well, I think you could make the argument that Clemson could be a 2 seed. I don't know that at this point that argument is a big enough deal to even be an argument.
Well, Clemson's going to have the opportunity.
I don't know what Clemson could have done more than what they've done.
Well, they're going to get the chance to move up from that 3. They've still got Duke, another Duke game left. I think they've got another tussle with Florida State, who's kind of hovering around that middle, and then they're going to have the ACC tournament. Yeah, they're going to get their stab at Virginia and Duke and Carolina. So if they want to move up, the opportunity for them is going to be there. Another point of this, go back and look at the Final Fours, and it seems like every year there's one outlier. Of course, last year's you guys,
right?
The year before it was Syracuse. The year before it was Michigan State coming in as a 7 seed. In 2014, you had UConn and Kentucky as a 7 and 8. So it's a pretty reasonable assumption that these 16 teams that they just released, if they got 15 of them right last year, most of them, you can assume most of them will be right this year.
Right, sure.
You can say 3 of the Final Four teams are from that list of teams right there.
I already told you, man. It's Kentucky.
Kentucky's
you gotta be wary of Kentucky.
Not going to Final Four, man. Kentucky is not going to the Final Four. They're going to
start just shooting so great.
Yeah, they are not. They are not.
You're probably right.
Probably. All right, BG. That's all I got for hour number 1. You got anything else?
I'm to the point in the season.
You want to talk about Frank Martin's fine he got?
Well,
hidden Frank in the wallet.
I'm going to reiterate the thing that Gamecock media has been tweeting all week. And I don't have a problem with Frank Martin getting fined.
He should get fined.
He broke the rule.
Yeah.
He knew he broke the rule. What I have a problem with is the SEC's complete lack of punishment on the athletic director at Missouri for doing something that I think goes well beyond the bounds of what Frank Martin did.
Surely you're not suggesting that. Who's there? Who is it? Is it Sankey now?
Sankey's
a bum, man.
Well,
he's a bum.
I'm not going to get into it. We don't spend a lot of time talking about women's basketball, but what Missouri's athletic director did is well on the other side of the pale. It was over 2 weeks ago. Sankey's silence on this has been deafening. And then to turn around and fine a coach from the same school that's being ignored, it doesn't sit well with a lot of people. And I don't think, I'll put it this way, if he thinks that South Carolina is going to forgive and forget, I think he's picked the wrong school.
Well, he certainly doesn't have the leadership qualities that John Swofford does.
Wow.
He doesn't. John Swofford's a tremendous commissioner.
But it's when you say things like that, you always smirk. You always smirk, and I don't know if you're uncomfortable with your own fanhood, or I don't know what it is, but you smirk, and then you expect me to know whether or not you're being serious.
Fanhood.
I don't know.
We're the only team in the conference playing 3 games in 5 days. Our commissioner has given us a shaft, and I'm commending him on.
He's trying so hard to not get caught with all the other things he does for you, all the paid reps, and who knows what's going on.
Reps. I didn't realize Clemson Kev was co-hosting the Border War today.
Well, I mean, look,
take that mask off, man. Reveal yourself, Clemson Kev.
Clearly, you can tell that I'm not Clemson Kev. I'm very slim, slim, and then you'll notice under the sleeve here, no hair sticking out.
Yeah.
But no, I've got a real problem with that. And again, let's be fair here. Frank Martin should have gotten fined. Whatever. Frank Martin knew he was going to get fined.
You can't criticize officials and not get fined. It happens in every league. It's not allowed in any league, in any level.
It's the hypocrisy of finding him and doing nothing with an athletic director that, again, is way out of the realm of what an athletic director should say. When you start questioning the character of another coach, and let's be honest, a coach, have you ever heard Dawn Staley's character questioned by anyone?
Well, that is a discussion that should have been had on a Tuesday morning on the telephone with Ray Tanner. That should not have been something that was handled through the media. That should have been handled through the school's administration. And I'm
not trying to throw the whole University of Missouri under the bus, but they've had some issues in the past 2-3 years. Yeah. He's not one to be bringing up racial tension. That's probably not a topic. If I were him, that I would have gone for.
I probably would have left that one alone.
Yeah, so that's my take on that. Just to cap off a little bit more time there. I mean, I've been retweeting a lot of stuff. Haven't talked about it on the air, but I'm still pretty mad about it. I mean, I don't.
It's a grind in your gears.
Okay, I've warned you once. The legal department has told us that is owned by another station who thought of it first, and we tried to steal it from. Wait a minute, no, I've got it completely backwards.
So you're completely backwards.
We thought of it, and they stole it from us. And in case you're wondering about the cough, that is not us. That's not actually live. That is a recording of the voice of a local college and local sports talk guy known as Coffee McCofferson, and that is him unable to control his coughing.
All right, guys. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2, we will be talking NBA trade deadline. Did the Hornets blow it by not making a move? We'll discuss it. College football signing day. BG, I'll ask you, are you pleased with the Gamecocks class? And a special guest caller, our first special guest caller. It's an amazing
What are the chances
day.
this even works?
Big news. Well,
that's the main thing both of us are nervous
we'll
about.
Try. We'll try it out. Big
Watch him
news.
not answer the phone. Go Gamecocks.
Probably not. Hour 2 coming up.